All right, Little Rock, grab your coffee, get jacked up. It's time for another episode of The Block Talk, and I am lucky to be sitting here with Michael Orndorff, one of our very own Little Rock natives. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we met actually a little over a year ago. We had a mutual contact who connected us, and you took me for a drive around what is the ever-changing Patagonia neighborhood, which you call home. Mm-hmm. So before we get started on all that, I want to know, or the listeners want to know, where are you from, how'd you get started, and, we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So that's a pretty long story, and I don't know how captivating it would be, especially coming on the heels of your interview with Wayne Miller. I almost wanted to recommend that we just sit here and listen to y'all's interview just to make sure that it's a good show. That guy tells a good story. I'm really excited about what he's doing, and just so thankful to have that going on in the city I live in. So my story is the short version. I'm a military brat who soon after high school joined the Air Force as well. Spent almost 4 years there before I went off to college at Western Kentucky. I was a finance major. I thought I was going to work at Edward Jones or Merrill Lynch or something like that.
As a financial advisor,
I
was. Sense?
I was never made for corporate America to try and climb that corporate ladder, but I didn't know it. So soon after graduation, I bought a trailer park with a guy that I was in the Air Force with out in southwest Little Rock off of Baseline Road. Mm-hmm. And so 3 months before we graduate, we buy this trailer park. As soon as I graduate, pack all my stuff up. I move into the trailer park on Stanton Road, and I lived there for a year and a half. And it was, it was a very tough experience, but I would not sell it back for anything. We didn't make any money. You're trying to hold these 40-year-old trailers together with string and tape, and it just couldn't be done. But it was an incredible experience. So thankful for it. But with the rehabilitation of the trailers led us to the rehabilitation of houses, and that ultimately led us to led myself to building new construction. I was wanting to build at a time when there was, for the most part, next to no new construction going on. It was the depth of the Great Recession.
08, 09,
in the housing market. Yeah, I think it was around 08 that I had built my first home for myself. It was and then to boot, I was a minimalist before I knew what a minimalist was. So I wanted a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and I wanted it to be super efficient. I didn't make much money at the time, but I did have a lot of money saved from when I was in the Air Force, and so. There weren't the builders that I knew just really didn't know how to scale their price. They're used to building, 2,000, 3,000 square foot houses, and here I am asking for
hard to be
850.
cost effective at that kind of square footage, though. Yeah.
But I had found out that ultimately you can build your own home. You can pull one permit to build your own home if you're going to live in it. And anybody can do this. You don't need a contractor's license. So for those of you listening right now, don't be scared. However, I think personally, a worker is worth the wages. I had the time on my hands to make mistakes and do it myself. But don't be discouraged. If you, for those of you listening, if you think that there's a future for you in construction, then I encourage it, and I'd like to get in touch with you and send you a short document actually that will lay out the building process for you. But anyhow, so I took that role in building the house, being the contractor, and I was able to build this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, no garage, on a $5,000 lot in Benton for, I think I got in around like $52,000,
wow.
Which was, and so the banks wouldn't give me any money. I had $27,000 saved up at the time. So I used that. I had $15,000 in credit cards. I used those, and then I borrowed the rest of the money from my parents. And so when I got done with the house, the banks were willing to lend me or give me a line of credit on the house since it was paid for.
Right.
And I was able to pay my credit cards off, pay my parents back in about 3 or 4 months' time, and got back even with the world, and just had this very light interest only line of credit on my house.
It gives you a lot of insight into where you continue to go from there. But what's funny is the finance major lends itself to also the military background, because both of those things require discipline and a little bit of minimalism. You go away with just what you have, and you are in that situation, and then you come back and you've got all this knowledge about how to save money. And so I love how people are always geared up for what's coming, but they're not sure.
Yep. I had so many people, and like, Mike, you have to at least put another half bath in there. You have to put another bath. I was like, I used to share a bathroom with 32 other guys.
I think I can handle my own bathroom. It's like a castle.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, they were right. I do not build anything less than a bath and a half, really anything less than a 2-bath these days. But at the time, it was good and necessary at the time.
Well, and what's good and necessary about what you've kind of evolved into is that you're starting to build, have continued to build homes that are appropriate for the neighborhood that you're building in. The price of them when they're ready to resell is appropriate for the wages made in the neighborhood that you're in. So let's talk a little bit about how you go from Benton. How do you get to Petaway?
So I was dating my wife. She lived in Hillcrest at the time, and most days my wife had next to nothing in her fridge, basically only breakfast food, because at night she would get home from work and she would walk to Kroger and she would buy exactly what she needed to cook dinner. And so it was just a really fun environment. Loved everything about it, but we couldn't afford to build a new house in Hillcrest. The lot prices were too high. And so that kind of caused us to get more innovative in where we would choose to live. So it was almost a divine illumination moment in time when I slipped into this. I was like, man, what about the mansion area? I remember being down there, and that was a cool, shady streets, sidewalks, and I looked down there and I found this lot that was in between these two houses that had recently been rehabilitated by the nonprofit, the CDC. And there was this lot right in the middle of it for, essentially we ended up paying $15,000. I can't remember what it was listed for, but it was just perfect. I remember asking Alex, I was like, so is this it? Is this it? Are you good with this? And this was after, a couple months of trying to really figure this out, like, where are we going to live? Where are we going to build our home? And one thing led to another. We began to build homes and began to shape the community. Of course, there was already another builder that had been there for probably 8 years before we ever got there, maybe more. And then you had this Paige Wilson, was and he's still there today building right now. But the CDC was still relatively active in our neighborhood. The University of Arkansas had been active in our neighborhood and constructing some homes up in Fayetteville and then bring them down here. Did some container homes, just some really cool stuff. We have this cantilever house. It's so awesome. So like we had these nonprofits, we had the universities, we had the city had built some affordable houses some years ago. So you had all these moving parts, and then private investors like Paige Wilson and others doing their thing. So I mean, it was really just primed and ready for us. They had laid all the groundwork, and we just got here, and we're getting way more credit than we deserve. But But we built on it from there, and now we have this just very strong neighborhood association, very close, tight knit. Like we don't just see our neighbors and wave. Like we hang out all the time. We're actually we're going. Actually, I can say it, so it's a surprise because this isn't going to be on for another week, right? Yeah. So one of our neighbors' birthday is today, but we weren't able to celebrate with him tonight. There were some conflicts with everybody, so we're all going to meet him at Community Bakery tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. But he doesn't know it. His partner is going to bring him there, and then he's going to catch us. But those things happen all the time. That's just the one that's happening.
That's how
this
it's
week.
supposed to be in neighborhoods. It's supposed to be community and getting. They're helping each other when there's tough times and then celebrating when there's good times.
Yeah, and the incredible diversity that we have, like we have empty nesters. So there's this, age diversity. There's an economic diversity in that we have a homeless shelter that is literally, it's in our neighborhood, our house. And then meanwhile, we have the governor's mansion just a few blocks to the west of our neighborhood as well. So, and then you have $700,000 houses and then everything in between. Yeah. So just a huge economic diversity. We've got the age diversity, and then also as far as the race diversity as well. And a strong population. The LGBT community is very alive and well, and we pride ourselves in that.
Yeah. Well, and I noticed too, you guys have participated in a lot of community events. You had one of the biggest Pride Parade floats that, I mean, it was big and huge, and everybody else's, I remember someone posted on Facebook like, well, actually, they might not have won, but this was the best float. So
Yeah.
I saw that. I laughed about that, and I thought, well, there's
claimed
Mike.
victory. Yeah, I claimed victory, but I don't know. Do they even judge it?
I don't know.
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't think so. I saw somebody
we
out
claimed
there.
victory, but yeah.
I saw someone out there said they hadn't petted a dog all day, and they were just like, I can't believe I haven't petted a dog all day. Someone bring me your dog. It seemed like
Yeah,
it was kind
yeah,
of a fun community event. But what's interesting is like the culture, like you're talking about. When you first took me on the tour over there, I remember, not to like put you out or anything, but you were quite emotional about the situation because you were like, I just can't believe that people don't see what's going on here and that there's not more. But that was over a year ago, and so much has changed since then. And all of a sudden everybody, even agents at my brokerage, are running around over there going, hey, I want to build, I want to do something over here because it's so exciting and it's so different than what's going on in so many areas of the city. So how do you think we extend that kind of neighborhood diversity and that culture acceptance and those kind of things into different branches of Little Rock?
I don't want to pretend like I have all the answers. It's been a collaborative effort as far as Petaway, and Petaway had, a good location. We came on the shoulders of the Mansion area. Those were individuals who stuck around and fought for their neighborhood, even when we had, urban sprawl and different things. So, I think there is a ton of opportunity. So and I don't know this to be fact, but it's a number that everybody throws around. There are 8,000 empty lots or abandoned homes downtown. The design of downtown is designed for success, in that it's not any different than the design isn't any different than Hillcrest or Heights or Stiff Station. Those are densely populated neighborhoods that have stood the test of time. They've been there for 100 years, and our bones aren't any different. We just we have the desirability there in Petaway, but there is opportunity in other neighborhoods to plant those seeds and to get the ball rolling. And so it's exciting. I feel like I definitely, there's enough for me to do for the rest of my life, but I would love. So you actually used a word on your last podcast that I love, the co-op petition.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
There's so much room for that. There's I would welcome more builders to come to our neighborhood. I would encourage builders to go to these other neighborhoods. There's so much opportunity down here. However, I should say there have been 7 different builders in our neighborhood, Petaway, probably in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And that's big because when I came there, the only builder that was there was Paige Wilson.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging. Right now, there are 2 African Americans who are building a house in our neighborhood, alongside with Paige Wilson and myself. So I'm building 5 new houses in our neighborhood right now. 4 of those homes were for sale. One of them I built as affordable, as an affordable rental. So 3 of those 4 homes that I built for sale are already sold. One of them sold before I ever broke ground. And then the house that I built for affordable rental is spoken for. So there's only 1 house left, and I'm not even through, and it's had a ton of activity. I'm not concerned about it sitting on the market for 180 days.
Right. It's like a realtor's dream.
Yeah, this is we have a market. We have
there's obviously desirability.
Yeah, right.
There's
this idea that people don't want to live
demand,
downtown
right.
is bogus. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just need the majority of people don't want fixer-uppers. And it's not just new construction that's happening in Petaway. There is a ton of rehabilitation, some with tax credits, some without tax credits. But ultimately, the majority of buyers don't want to spend. They don't want to spend their. They don't want to spend their weekends, working on their home. They want a home that's something, closer to finished and ready to go. So it's just about building that inventory, and so the opportunity is there for other builders, other people who do rehab work. Not just in our neighborhood, but all throughout Little Rock.
Yeah. I've noticed, too, that a lot of activity is starting to take place over in the East Village area. From a residential standpoint, they already had kind of the marina going in, and they've done the cat heads and the whole walkability over there by Eastham, and now all of a sudden you'll see Hanger Hill start picking up some more and more residential lots, and then same thing around south of 630. You're seeing a lot more activity in South on Main and Soma, that whole area. We've talked about there's houses down there that you can't keep on the market at all. If they're priced right, they're gone. And I've noticed even there's an increase in the lot prices in some of those areas as well. So can you talk a little bit about sustainable housing and how a lot of it, what you're building is not $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. It's fit for family, and it's something that I think other builders, it's hard to get to that. It's hard to build for less than $100 a square foot. I mean, so how do you continue to build the right houses for the right price?
We've done several things. So, for one, DePaul USA is a nonprofit, and they have come in with some donors, and they have hired builders, not just myself, to build affordable duplexes. So we were able to do one of those for them already. It's finished. They've moved people in that essentially they had something. Don't hold me to these numbers, but income restrictions of you couldn't make more than $22,000, and then your rent was essentially 30% of whatever your income was. So. But we were able to do one duplex already, and this is a nice duplex. It's really cute. I need to show you.
I've never seen anything not cute.
Yeah, I need to show you a picture of it. We've pulled a permit to start another one, and I think actually I'm hoping my guys are going over there today and going to get started on clearing that lot. So that's one aspect of it. And actually, there's another builder who's building one of these duplexes for DePaul USA as well. So. You've got these nonprofits who are going in and making sure that these affordable spaces for people to live exist and that they're not in concentrated areas, so you don't have concentrated poverty, that we continue to maintain the economic diversity that we've got. Alex and I personally went in and built a house that was it was mirrored off the first house that I ever built. We built it a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, and all brick.
Okay,
No,
we're
it was
gonna get to that.
Yeah,
in a minute.
it was about 850 square feet or so. It was, like I say, it was about the size of the first house I ever built. It was all brick, and I listed it for $99,000 in this hopes of I don't want anybody to say that we're not building for all economic age group or economic backgrounds. And we put it on the market for 3 months, and I had one call. It was somebody who called on the sign, and they weren't interested. So there's something about buyers, like there's almost not that many. And this was a couple years ago, but it was in Petaway, a very nice house. Like, we really weren't looking to, we're looking to make a ton of money, right. But ultimately, we ended up renting it out as an affordable rental because those need to exist as well. Not everybody can afford to buy a house or
might
in
not
a
be
place.
In a position,
right. They're just not in a position to buy it. So affordable rentals are important too. And so that's what we rent it out now for $800 a month and include the water, which is for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, new construction.
And it's your own home. You're not attached to other people like in apartments or That's a whole deal. So what about the walkability of the neighborhood? Because you talk about there is the homeless shelter, but there's also a lot of other things nearby. You can walk around and enjoy yourself. And I know there's some projects upcoming that I've seen that involve some commercial space and things like that. So what about the walkability?
So already we have the Soma Business District that is 5 blocks away from our house, and we use that up. Soma after dark, we go to Loblolly in the summer. I mean, it's just, we feel like if you walk to Loblolly, you've come close to burning the calories it takes that you consume. Yeah. So it's like this. I think
balance. Eating at the root is like negative calories too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then we love going to the root. We just walk down there and just have breakfast outside. Oh, it's amazing. And so we've already got Soma Business District and all the community events, different things, the festivals, etc. We already have that just in our backyard. But in addition to that, the hope is right now we've purchased and own 3 different parcels on East 21st Street in the corner of Rock, and the idea there is to create this micro business district. So right now, if you have a business and you're working out of your SUV or out of your garage or at a farmer's market, in order for you to get to that next level, more than likely you're going to have to rent a huge space, more space than you need. Maybe,
or rent something that's not affordable for you. That's the thing about small business.
You just can't make the numbers work. Like, trying to make that jump is almost impossible. Yes. So we're trying to create an environment where people can transition from their from the farmer's market or from their SUV into something that is more conceivable, but still have storefront access. And that's one of the things I loved about your conversation in last week's podcast. But essentially, we want to capitalize on Little Rock's entrepreneurship and create an environment where that can thrive.
Oh, you said my trigger word, entrepreneurship. Yeah. That's the thing about Little Rock is people have no idea. I always say, like, Little Rock's the next big thing. I mean, it's the thing that everybody, they talk about us nationwide about how, it's so affordable to go move there. And it's like, it's also friendly to small business. It's very easy. I know for me, living in an apartment right in the middle of Little Rock and kind of fighting my way up, it was hard to get, like you're talking about, it was hard to get to that point where I could own a business. But it happened, and it was possible because of the surroundings I was in. And where I'm from in Southern California, there's no way that I would be able to do those things and have an office office and have the, you know what I mean, and continue to build my business. So I love the idea of doing like a micro business and taking some small business, some small entrepreneur, and giving them the opportunity to afford the rent that they're going to have there and their triple net lease or whatever it might be. And then also for investors, it gives them the opportunity to invest not only in the business and see what comes of it, but their city as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only, so this is a very business friendly city, but even when you do, I feel like even when we do kind of hit these roadblocks, you can talk to somebody about it. We have very accessible individuals that work for the city, and so it's not jumping through hoops to have these conversations about certain problems that may arise. So yeah, I love the accessibility of our city leaders, and I hope that they continue to offer that. But yeah, so just the importance in this micro business district. I think that it's important not just for our neighborhood, but really every neighborhood downtown. And I'm not asking that we do something new. This isn't a new idea. This is actually how every neighborhood was
ever built ever, right?
Hillcrest Heights, Stiff Station, they have always had a business district. The Mansion area had Soma. Before it was called Soma, it was still a business district. Petaway had a business district. In fact, there's still a business right on the corner of Rock and 21st Street where we have these 3 parcels that we hope to develop. It's a barbershop, but it has been active and in business for probably 70 years. Yeah.
There's so many different things when you drive around different areas of the city and you see these old staples, these businesses that have been there forever and ever and ever, and you're just watching the development around them. Like, stay there, don't move.
Yeah. Do you remember the last time we took a tour? We went to Wright Avenue and looked at their business district, and you remember there's the shell of what used to be a theater. Yeah. Like they used to have a theater in their neighborhood.
Put one there.
Yeah. That is so awesome. They used to just walk from their homes and meet their friends at the theater and watch Mission Impossible. How awesome was that?
We totally need to have that. So if you want to develop a movie theater, please go and speak to Mike.
However, I mean, I feel like Soma, it does have a movies in the park sort of thing at Bernice Garden, and then the city, Little Rock. My wife and I haven't been to it in a couple of years, but we did definitely love to do it back before we had a kid. Going down to the river and watching, movies. What are they? Movies? What they call that something?
Movies after dark. Something like that. But they have like art night now and market night, and it's really cool to see all the things that are going on downtown.
We're still doing that. We've kind of chameleoned a little bit, but I just, those sorts of things are just awesome to me. I think that's ultimately what for sure our generation wants to get back to is these close, tightly knit communities where we get to do life together.
Well, and then we have to say the word millennial, which we both talked about, and we're both elders in that community. But when you talk about millennials, they are actually, and it's funny because even technology is coming back to I think a little bit more of human connection. Like my sister and when I were laughing the other day because you can voice text, you can send videos to people now. Like Marco Polo is just live video between you and another person. And it's funny because like finally technology is taking instead of the break and it's bringing you a little bit closer. So hopefully that will continue and our trend will start to do some of these walkable communities. That's what everybody wants. They want a community where they can live somewhere, walk to the coffee shop, do their work. You saw downstairs at Nexus, everybody is down there working and doing their thing and having their meetings. And then they want to, be able to walk to work, which is something right now that you don't have a whole lot of the areas in the city that you can do that in.
I'm proud to say that I get to walk to work. Yeah, I'm building homes in my neighborhood. And actually, so something we should definitely discuss, something that we have to start having a way broader conversation about is, so it's been very trendy, like support local, drink beer local, buy your honey local.
Well, the beer here is amazing locally.
And we've done a phenomenal job of that, but we need, like, that conversation, we need to start having broaden that a little bit, how important it is to support local. So this is just a recent number I heard on NPR here, that before the Great Recession, the average dollar would circulate through the market 17 times. Right now, the average dollar is circulating through the market only 5 times. So that's only 5 times before it's sucked up to the top. And so we've got to do a better job of buying local, of supporting our local businesses, because it's not just when you go to the Root and you buy a meal from Jack and it stops there. Jack supports 70% of the things that he buys are local.
Right.
But Jack also uses a local accountant. The services that support his business are local. And I don't want to dog some of these out of state or out of country businesses. I'm not like shunning them, but whenever we're able, we need to try our best to support local, because it's not just that people like Jack who are buying the majority of their food that they serve locally. The services that all local businesses have are are likely hired local as well. Whereas when you go to one of these bigger commercial spaces, they're likely not using in-state accountants and services or whatever.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because even with videography and even with our podcast production and all of that, with local business, when we go, I mean, even my clothes, like for instance, this shirt I was at the Bramble Market. We had a harvest festival there, and there's this woman who goes out there and she collects these old clothes, and then she like bleaches half of it or puts pearl snaps on it or lace or finds some way to like dress it up and then resells it. And I just thought that was the best idea ever. Yeah. But even at Bramble Market, they have, and there's plenty of other markets that do this, or farmers markets, that they're raising local beef, and then they're, you know what I mean? And the same thing with crafts and soap and wooden things. I've seen so many amazing local artists that are actually just trying to support their family and live their dream. And that's the whole idea, right? Is like, we're going to all live local. But I understand what you're saying, because there is a point too where everybody goes to Walmart. You know, everybody goes to, because maybe it's more affordable for them. Maybe they're in a situation where they can't pay that extra little bit, but whenever you can, buy local. And then kind of bring me back to another point is, buy local when you're buying your house, right? And so people want to kind of disperse out from the areas of the city, and a lot of it moves west and a lot of it moves north, but Little Rock has a lot of potential, like you're talking about in Petaway and surrounding areas east of I-40. That's a lot of historical stuff over there too. I mean, that was a big, huge factory business area where people went to work every day and would walk and have their lunch and do all of that. And the Clint Museum's over there, Heifer's over there. I mean, there are opportunities to go over there and support businesses that are very important to our community and to our economy.
Right. Man, I had something just a minute ago, and then I dropped the ball.
It happens. It happens on the block talk.
Man, I had something very important.
Well, we'll come back to it, but I will tell you this. Life has probably changed some since you had your son Bowden, right? Because now you went from being the single guy, gets out of the military, builds his own house, you're kind of doing the bachelor thing, and then you start dating Alex, and you guys get married, move into Petaway. Now you've got this little boy, so you've got less time to focus on what you're doing at work, but you're also probably more inspired to continue doing this so he can grow up and watch it. So tell me a little bit about that.
No, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is an important point. Ultimately, I was raised in the suburbs, and for the most part, I didn't know any other business owners. The only business owners that I knew, they either mowed yards or they detailed cars. And so if I wanted to be my own business owner, those are my two options. Yeah. Because all of the businesses that I was raised around were out of state owned, out of country owned, very commercially run businesses. So the importance of having these business districts in our neighborhood is important, because my son Bowden, and I'm not saying everybody should own their own business. I was not made to be in the corporate environment, and some people were not made to be business owners. So, but if I would like my son to see opportunity in our city, that he sees people starting businesses, he sees people running businesses every day of his life, and knows what the opportunity is for him right here in Little Rock.
Right.
I'm terribly in love with him, and I want him to. If he wants to stay in the city, I want him to have an opportunity to stay in the city.
Well, we raise our kids and we tell them all the time, the sky's the limit, the sky's the limit, the sky's the limit, but you can only work here. You can only do this. And this is the income that you're going to receive. And
because I want you to stay near me.
Yes. But that's a good point, because you need to be able to show him there is opportunity beyond going and getting a job at XYZ. And maybe if you want to do that, great. But also, you can build your own business. You can run over here downtown and create something, because that's what you've done. And that's like, as we get closer to wrapping this up, my big thing is you have taken a space in our city, and you've taken the time and your own money and your own energy, and you've poured that into the neighborhood over and over and over again. And I know from experience that when you pour energy into something and you pour love and commitment into it, people love that, and they get behind it, and then they come and they start pouring energy. And like you said, it's collaborative effort. You feel like you're getting more credit than you deserve, but it had to start with some of you, like Paige, and you start over there, and then it just builds and it builds and it builds. And so the more that you do, the more that the community wants to get behind it. And so that's why I wanted to have you on the show, as well as to expose you to the city, that those of you who don't know who Mike Orndorff is and what's going on over there. We also have the most popular tiny home in all of Arkansas, which you're responsible for. So we've got to close on that. Tell me about that.
So the tiny home is 270 square feet. It's a one-bedroom. It's the best investment I've got. It's the pound for pound, by far, the best investment we've got. We rent it out on Airbnb. It's rented almost every night. And we have chickens behind it. We have a small garden bed, blueberries, peaches. I mean, this is an 1,800 square foot lot, and we allow pets. The entire yard is fenced in, but I mean, it's solar panels. Like it
I get goosebumps when I talk about the tiny home, because there's also the quote, which I think you named your business after. Tell me what that says out front.
So we have several quotes throughout
It was the Lorax one.
Okay, so the Lorax quote is actually in front of a house that is completely solar powered, but it's on the other corner from the tiny home.
Okay.
And that home has a she shed behind it. It's actually a 200 square foot space that the buyer who bought the home and the she shed from me, they rent it out on Airbnb as well. But we have a Welcome to Petaway sign. It's in the brick wall. And below where it says Welcome to Petaway, there's a quote from the book, The Lorax. Unless someone like you cares a whole lot, I may not be able to finish this.
Yeah.
Nothing will get better. It's not. And that's really ultimately Petaway and the energy that is in our neighborhood. It's all encompassed in that one quote, and that we're just trying to live earth-friendly lives, really just to love our neighbors, and just the benefits that come with living that way.
Yeah. Well, I really I adore what you guys are doing over there, and I'm going to keep following you. I'm going to keep talking to you about this and keep watching it. I'm so thankful to Brian for introducing us and for getting the opportunity to speak with you. And I'm just going to, all of you who are listening, take a chance, drive over to Petaway, drive around and see the unbelievable differentiation between the buildings that are there. Tiny homes to larger homes to this, like you said, the container homes are awesome. The students that built those at U of A and brought them down here, I mean, just incredible. So thank you for being here, for sharing with us. And yes, and we add value on the Block Talk. That's what we do.
Yes,
so
you do,
this valuable interview means a lot to me, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, Block Talk, we're out.